So today's our first time working with a lineolated parakeet named Luma. I can't wait to share what we did today. So Caitlin's complaints today about Luma are that she's very low energy, she doesn't seem to be motivated by treats, and that she can become highly aggressive, whether she's giving the treat, asking her to go back in the carrier, or anything around the house seems to really just get a very aggressive bite. So we had her take Luma out today and show us just what some 5 somethings looked like, and to be honest, they all looked pretty good. Take a look.
Step up, step down. Good girl. You want one? So this is kind of the motivation, just like, I guess I'll take one. And didn't even want it. Spin. Good girl. Spin. Good girl.
Not a fan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, you are cute.
So I'm sure you can see the low energy.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a bitey bird.
You're proving me wrong, Luma.
So right off the bat, we didn't see any aggressive behaviors, but we also didn't see any motivation. And since Caitlin's main thing today is to work on understanding motivation better, we thought we would take some other birds out to be able to work with them to show her what a motivated bird looks like and what a totally unmotivated bird looks like. When did I get an audience?
Oh.
Come on, I figured it out. I get a treat. You have treats for her?
No, it ran out.
Oh, well, you need to get more.
Hold on, Beard.
Yeah. Like she's working for free over here, man. She's like, fine, I'll go find my own treat.
Do it for Millie. All right, so that's what it should look like. Let's put her away, and then we'll swap out for Monet.
So, yeah.
Nice. Cool, and then so, I don't know if you can quite
I
see.
think he's gonna fit through that.
There we go, good treat.
Okay.
So I'm just slowly increasing the approximation that she has to go. All right, so you can see it's just tiny steps.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things we're doing is we have this taped down a little bit so it's not rolling around, which could potentially scare her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get her a little further. Can you get it? Nice, that was a good one. So she's starting to associate that she has to look in there to get it, because that was the first challenge. She didn't know where to look for it.
There we go.
You see the big change there?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're noticing, I'm moving it back with my fingers,
Mm-hmm.
so nothing else is moving. I don't want my hand to be moving back and be contributing to it.
Okay.
And I'm just slowly bringing that stick back a little more every time. But I'm minimizing the variables, meaning so my hand's not moving, which could scare her if I'm moving my hand. The tube's not moving.
But the fact that the stick lives in there is really helping this behavior progress.
Okay.
So we'll just let her have a fail there. She's learning that doesn't work. How do we have to go? Is it that way? There.
So that was a great lesson in not trying to make every single repetition a win and like struggle bust your way through. If they're not getting it, just let them fail, so that she was able to recognize, when I go around, I'm not getting the treat.
Yeah.
And so that's the big difference, and that encourages her in the learning process to go the correct way. I think we are losing her attention.
Oh. So that's us going too long, and I'm just trying to blow it out for the sense of showing you guys what it looks like.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's body language of like we fill her up. It's
Okay.
your motivation now. Which again is not what you want to do at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we don't have any leverage to get what we want out of her.
Yeah, to like get her back and all of that's gonna be a struggle. So you could kind of see that motivation go down.
Some takeaways were that I started with the stick showing through about like that.
Yeah.
Then, without moving my hand, is the best that I could, I'd bring the stick in a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I'd bring in a little bit more. And then eventually we just pushed too far for her motivation level, but I got her to about there.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she quit because she realized she couldn't fit, if she quit because we pushed too hard for too long. It's probably a combination of both. as Jamie said, it was important that we allowed some failures. So she came over here and she touched the stick and then realized that like, oh, what was the difference? How come I didn't get the treat for doing that, but I got it for when I went this way? And then she started to reoffer by going through the tube. If I was resetting all this every time with a bird that's a little bit hand shy and skittish, this would have been too much for her. So that's why we really isolated that this hand never moved, and it worked where Capri was giving the treats. If it was just me, then I would just be here and I would be slowly moving the treats back and just delivering them or move the stick back and I'd be delivering the treats here. But
Okay.
does that kind of help you visualize what that could look like at home?
Definitely, yeah.
So to demonstrate this thoroughly, we pushed our birds to failure today, which is not something we usually do. But for learning purposes, we really wanted to highlight what a bird looks like when they're eager to work with you and train with you and interact, all the way until filling up the bird and losing them, so to speak, is what we call it. We'll kind of say as we're losing interest from the bird is we'll say, we're kind of losing them. What that means is other things in the environment are now going to be higher value and more reinforcing for them to sort of get into, whether it's flying over there, flying away from us, going down on the ground, looking for whatever they can that is more reinforcing than interacting with us, because the value of the treat has lost its value. Because our budgie blueberry is so fast, we decided to have Dave really control this training session versus throwing Caitlin just straight in. So as a demonstration, we worked on the retrieve a little bit, and this is just the first little nuances of it to show both success and failure and what can happen in a whole training session.
And this one. Okay, so I'll do a retreat because she picked it up. I didn't click, so it wasn't exactly what I want, and I know she's more capable. So I'm going to move this to the edge where she's likely to dump it into the bowl on accident. And every once in a while I'll flash her the treat to remind her what she's working for.
Nice. Kind of chance.
She totally soccer balled it in there.
Very lucky.
The goal is we want to try not to frustrate her or the trainer.
Grab it.
There we go. So part of that is I'm moving the treat where I want it to be to help get her to pick the ball up and drop it in that direction.
Nice. That was a great one.
And so you can see we have to go at her timing. Oh. Which is really fast.
Hang on. This is going well.
All right,
I'm
zooming in on a
exhausted.
good one. Super difficult to do.
Yay! Next, we took out Capri's project bird, Monet, who's a little lovebird. Now, Monet was perfect for explaining this, and Caitlin got to work hands-on with Monet, working on training the spin. We just kind of wanted to see what Caitlin's training looked like. So Dave was able to demo what it should look like, and then Caitlin was supposed to step in and just kind of mimic that. But as we've talked about in other videos, training accents are definitely a thing. And what happened was there was a lot of difference between what Dave did with Monet and what Caitlin tried to do with Monet.
So what we're gonna do is push for 180 degrees.
Okay.
We'll click there, and then Capri will flash the treat up, and we'll try to get her to finish the spin to get the treat.
Okay.
So realistically, we could get this in one session.
The first big difference here was just which arm they used. So Dave came in with the right arm, which allowed a lot of space between him and Monet, making her very comfortable to turn around on the T-stand. When Caitlin did it, she used her left arm and kind of came up and over Monet, which immediately had her in a defensive posture, had her really startled and not wanting to participate. Some of the other things that happened that went a little off kilter in this training session is that she allowed Monet to spin the opposite direction than what was initially intended. She also was clicking and rewarding for not quite the behaviors we were going for.
So you switched directions on me.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
She
sorry.
turned
So
the opposite way.
So that's all right. So it's really important that once we start a certain direction, we continue it. So we'll bring her around. I'll just go ahead and do a rep here. Okay, so we're going to bring her around this way. And bring it that way for the treat. You see how the stick still kind of kept that move, kept her spinning that direction?
She also held the target stick where a lot more than just the tip was accessible, among a few other differences between the training between Dave and Caitlin. So you lost her attention.
That's all right. She touched. Let's go and treat her.
Okay.
So the difference that's happening here is I'm keeping her attention, and then I'm directing her to turn this way. Then I get her to touch over here. Touch. You missed. And
Oh,
okay,
she
so
did it.
she's finished it, so I'm gonna go ahead and just treat it. I didn't click, so it wasn't perfect.
So what I suggested was just for Dave to build a bit of behavioral momentum before Caitlin stepped in next time. What this means is getting the bird into a rhythm where they can know what they're supposed to do, and so they kind of build this expectation, and then kind of put in the other trainer when the bird already sort of understands the behavior and the expectation. Unfortunately, once Caitlin kind of got back into the training scene, we had really lost motivation for Monet, and then she decided to do anything else. Now, this was a great demonstration in the decline of motivation from Monet, and is something that Caitlin wanted to learn about today. So it went towards the education side of things, but left us in a real bind of how do we get Monet back? Towards the end of class, we were able to see some body language from Luma from inside the carrier that she might be a little bit more receptive. So we took her back out for another session.
Understanding we're working with very little motivation. So that tells me too, like we probably aren't gonna get more than 5 reps of something, which is honestly one of my favorite numbers for training is let's just get 5 perfect somethings and then get her put away.
It was important that we didn't push Luma to failure because we needed to get her back into the carrier successfully, which is part of the session. So Dave suggested only doing 5 repetitions of something. We started with some easy step-ups and targets, and then Dave was like, hey, think she'll fly to you? It was pretty funny about what happened next.
You can do it.
There's probably not enough motivation for that. What if we change something? So what if you go back 6, 8, 10 feet? Are we likely to get a flight?
I doubt it. Oh, never mind. Hello there. There's your egg.
Even though we didn't have any food motivation to work at with Luna, we were able to use the environment in which she was in and the people within it to our advantage to get the behaviors that we wanted.
So when you're in her little arbitrary 6-foot circle, you can see what the little heart bubbles like. There's some reinforcement based on seeing how much she likes people, right? There's reinforcement by being there, but once you get out of that 6-foot circle and you're over here, that's where she's like, okay, I need to get to. When you were here in her 6-foot circle, this was full. She was full of food. She had all the environment that she wanted. Why on earth would she want to go anywhere else?
Yeah.
But the moment that you stood outside of her circle, you can tell by comparison, she was still full, but over here is where she wants to fill up the environment by being close to you. So would you rather have 10 ping pong balls or 7 if they were currency, right? So your movement created that currency for her to say, okay, I want to go over here because this is more reinforcing than being there. So although oftentimes we think about how important it is to use treats as motivation, we overlook how much the environment plays on getting the behavior we want. If you look at it in terms of what if I couldn't use treats to reinforce anything? How would I train differently? And if you really dig into it, you would change the antecedent, which is what we just did. We weren't getting a flight here because the treats weren't working. So if we can't use a treat to reinforce, what do? We change the antecedent to moving over here. We change something to make it more desirable for her to come over here. When you start to understand that, your training becomes that much more powerful because you're not just relying on like, okay, my bird's hungry, or worse, my bird's not willing to take a treat. We can still get the behaviors we want by changing something in the room that gets her closer to what is more desirable than where she started. There's so much happening all the time that we just need to be more aware of. And when we set out to have an interaction with intention and we're measuring what that success looks like, then we can start to say, what do we need to change to get the result that we want or get us closer to that result?
What I think Caitlin's takeaways were today is that 1, she's been misreading Luma's motivation levels. She's been nervous because Luma is a small bird, and so she's felt like she needs to free feed all day with her meals. So when she doesn't have access to the seasonal feeding, she's been giving her access to the pellets all the time. And I think this has actually given her a decreased motivation where Caitlin's kind of believed, oh, she's not motivated by treats, or she's just a low motivated type of species and it's just her species. We heard that a lot today. I think it's actually in how she's conditioning and feeding her. The other thing I stressed to Caitlin today is to challenge her own perspective and take on things. When she hears herself talk, to think, what if none of that is actually true? Kind of like with the flight today, you could hear Caitlin say, I don't think I'm gonna get that. And before she even got the whole sentence out, her bird was flying to her. So I think really questioning our beliefs helps us be better trainers.
Parrots are the 3rd most popular pet in the entire world, yet the number 1 most rehomed. If you're interested in joining our mission of saving parrots one person at a time, visit birdtricks.com to learn more about our parrot training courses, organic bird food, all natural parrot toy line, and much, much more. When we know better, we do better. It's through you that we can help people offer only the best quality products to their parrots, along with the knowledge they need to live in harmony with their birds through permission-based training. Visit birdtricks.com today to learn more.